Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to take a look at another of the newer Dino Rivals, and this one is the Mega Dual Attack Dino Rivals Stegosaurus from Mattel for the Jurassic World line. This is one that actually gave me a little bit of a problem finding, because everybody that I kept seeing that was actually finding one was finding them in stores that I don't have anywhere near me, like I believe the one store is called Major. I'm not positive if that's how you say it. But a lot of people were finding them there, and unfortunately, I don't have one even remotely close to me, like not even in my state, so it was pretty much impossible for me to get a hold of one of these until Entertainment Earth put them up. But Entertainment Earth was selling them in a 2-pack of this and the Suchomimus, but they also added like $10 extra onto the price, or maybe not quite 10, $5, I don't know. I know it was more than it should have been. It was definitely more than retail. So again, I held out a little bit longer, and thankfully I did, because Amazon finally put them up for sale, and they were put up for sale at the $20 price tag that they should be, with free shipping if you spend over, I think, $35. So I was able to order this, along with a few other Jurassic World figures that I've been looking for a little while now, and I am beyond super excited, because I kind of got concerned I wouldn't be able to own this figure after a while. I just wasn't sure if I was actually going to be able to get a hold of it before they disappear into oblivion like a lot of these other figures tend to do. Luckily I did, and here it is for us to look at. So let's take a look at the box. As you can see on the front here, we've got the Rex, Triceratops, and Owen, once again totally ignoring what's going on behind him as if he just does not care. And then we've got the Mega Dual Attack Stegosaurus over here on the side, with a few images up here on the top just showing you basically what's going on with the action features. And then if we look at the back, you can see you've got the Stegosaurus there, again portraying the action features, showing the tail whip smack here on the red Allosaurus, which I cannot wait for. I hope that's exactly the Allosaurus that we will be getting when they do eventually reveal that during that upcoming Fast and Furious spin-off movie called Hobbs and Shaw. And then down here in the corner, you've got the Suchomimus and the Stegosaurus, and over here a little image of the card. So let's go ahead, pop this box open, grab ourselves the card, and take a look at this Stegosaurus. So here is the card for the Dino Rival Stegosaurus. It's pretty basic, but the card is pretty nice, got a nice little image. It's nothing special, but you've got the stats, of course, there, and then the Dino Rivals Jurassic World info on the back. But the Stegosaurus itself is right here. And I will say that it's really, really nice looking. I actually think I prefer this one over the previous paint scheme, even though the previous paint scheme was a little closer to what you actually see in the Lost World Jurassic Park, which is the movie that I always base any Stegosaurus off of when it comes to a Jurassic World figure or a Jurassic Park figure, because that's the paint scheme I will always remember when it comes to the Stegosaurus. But regardless, this paint scheme does look really quite nice. As I said, I definitely quite like it. So let's take a closer look at it. Now, the one thing I will say is that, honestly, we don't really need to do a review again of the sculpt, because I have reviewed this sculpt in the past. We are really only here to take a look at whatever is new with this Stegosaurus, and that is not the sculpt at all. But we'll get a nice closer look, take a look at what new features we've got, and see which one we think is better. So starting up here at the head of the Stegosaurus, you can see that the eye is a greenish coloration, if my camera would focus, and the pupil once again is the dark gray that is the background. It seems as though Mattel loves to just give the dinosaurs the same coloration as far as their pupil as their skin color. I'm not really sure why. I'm not a big fan of it, but I think it looks okay on this figure simply because the coloration of the dinosaur is a dark coloration, so it kind of gives the pupil a dark coloration, and that is exactly what you need for the pupil. The beak overall has a nice paint to it, a nice lighter gray. It's got a pretty good gloss to it as well, which makes the realism level of it look a little bit better. Definitely looks quite good. The eye itself is pretty nicely placed, but not perfectly. But this side, you can see the eye is again not put in the exact right position. If you take a little step back, you won't notice it really too much, but up close you can definitely tell that the eye is not where it should be. So as always, Mattel still has absolutely no idea where to put the eyes on their figures. As you take a look at the new paint scheme, you can see that it's primarily this nice grayish coloration, and then you get to the plates. The plates are a green like almost a forest green. And then as you get into the larger plates, you can see it starts to have a whitish coloration for the upper part of the back into the plates, and then they are basically outlined by that dark green. And I actually think it looks pretty good in person. I didn't think it would look quite as good as it does, honestly, because when I had initially seen this and it was being promoted and released and revealed pretty much, I wasn't super excited about it, but in person I actually think it is quite appealing and definitely looks a good bit better than I expected it to. The inside of the plates is all just that same whitish coloration, so the green trim on the outside is only on the outer side of the plates. And then once you get down here into the tail, you can see that the plates turn primarily into that green color, similar to up by the head, which then ends in the tip of the tail being completely green with the very nicely painted tail spikes. They are painted quite nicely. And then you come back up here into the body, and the body again is primarily just that gray coloration, but the underbelly is a white. It's more like actually a lighter gray than a white, because it's definitely not the same coloration that you see up here on the top of the plates. So yeah, definitely a grayish coloration here on the underbelly. Kind of picks up in the chest and then ends right here right before the tail, as always. And there is the Jurassic Facts code if you are interested in adding this Stegosaurus to your collection. But as far as the paint goes, that is honestly the only little bit of new paint applied. So let's take a look at the articulation. So being a Mega Dual Attack means that it's basically just one of the Dual Attack figures, but a larger version. If you push it down, he starts to headbang to whatever heavy metal band that he likes the most. I'm not really sure who I would take him for. Maybe a Metallica guy, I'm not sure. But if we push this one here in the back, it causes the tail strike action, which then allows you to beat the crap out of whatever dinosaur gets near it. So this tail strike action is similar to what we had with the original Stegosaurus, but it did not have this head strike action. Previously, you actually had to use your hands to move the neck. So as far as articulation goes, those are the action features, but again, articulation-wise, you do have the mobility of the head. The legs, of course, do move. The front legs here don't move away from the body, but they do move forward and back very nicely. Rear legs also forward and back. They move away from the body, as you can see, like that. So you've got that kind of articulation along with the forward and back. And then, of course, the tail articulation, which has two different sections of articulation. And that's pretty much it as far as articulation goes. As far as a size goes, I do believe this is exactly the same size as the previous Stegosaurus, but we will measure it again regardless. So from the head to the tail, you are looking at about 14 inches almost on the dot, or about 36 centimeters. And for a height, you are looking at about 7 inches, or about 18 centimeters in height. And for a size comparison, there is the Paparex next to the Jurassic World Stegosaurus, and you can see that the Rex himself is not even remotely close to being the correct size next to this Stegosaurus, but then again, he's not from the same line, so why would he be? But this should give you a pretty good idea if you didn't already know of how big the Stegosaurus is. It is a fairly large figure and definitely a very nicely sized Stegosaurus. And then we take a look at both of the Stegosaurus figures together, both of the Jurassic World Stegosaur figures, both at the same time, right here together, creating an adorable little family of Stegosaurs. Again, I like this one. I definitely like the look of it, and the overall sculpt of both is awesome. I think it's absolutely beautiful for being a Jurassic Stegosaurus, but I'm not really sure. I kind of think I like the paint job on this one a little more than this one. You can see that they are exactly the same size, exactly the same sculpt. There's no difference. Even the legs themselves are in exactly the same position. So the only new additions is the updated paint scheme and of course the action features. But I kind of like this one just simply because it's closer, I think, to what you would see being greens and stuff, but this is actually more of like a blue than a green. It's kind of like a weird bluish green, whereas this one here has what I would perceive as maybe a more realistic paint scheme, something I could see a Stegosaurus maybe being in real life. I don't think I would see one being like a bluish green like this one, but I don't know. Regardless, they are both really beautiful figures. I like both, and I think it's great to have both. Very cool to have a nice family of Stegosaurus figures. and overall, the sculpt and paint on both of them is really, really nice. The sculpt definitely looks very similar to what you actually see in the Jurassic films. I think more so closer to Jurassic World as opposed to the Lost World Jurassic Park. It's definitely closer to a Jurassic World style Stegosaurus. But they are still, again, like I said, absolutely beautiful looking figures as far as sculpt, and the paint applied does look really good on both. Very naturally and beautifully applied, very realistically applied. Again, the eyes on both of these actually are hit or miss when it comes to getting one with correct eyes, but they are both still really, really nice. So if you do want to buy this new Dino Rivals Stegosaurus, I will throw a link in the description to Amazon.com where I purchased mine, and assuming that they haven't sold out and third-party sellers haven't taken over, it should be about the $20 range, so it's exactly the price, honestly, that it should be. Again, if you do want it, check the description, head on over to Amazon, purchase yourself an awesome new Dino Rivals Mega Dual Attack Stegosaurus, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.